Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Jean, and I'm acutely aware that we are the last thing that stands between now and drinks. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible, and this is why I suggested that we welcome aboard or on stage Mila, David, and Damien beforehand. It will just shorten everything up. And if this works, I'll try to go straight to the tech drivers. Perhaps we can launch the presentation. Yes, here we are. Okay, so I was asked to think about where tech is driving us at right now, and the general answer for that is downwards. You might have noticed something about Terra, Luna, the crypto crash, Bitcoin going down, Web3 going back to 2.1.0 nowhere, and generally tech stocks, well, just, you know, not exactly crashing down, but almost quite, rather. And nobody's hiring any longer in Silicon Valley, etc., etc. The point is that, as you might have noticed, I'm old enough to have lived this already at least once, and that was more than 20 years ago, in exactly March 2000, when the new economy stopped being new. And something interesting happened then, which you might have heard already, which was that Alta Vista disappeared. It used to be a search engine, you know. Yahoo sort of was less joyous, and many other search engines disappeared, and they made space for a new big one you might have already heard of, called Google. So the question I have not the pretension to answer, but at least maybe to ask, is if everything comes down, what is coming next after the field has cleared? And as a journalist, what I try to do is find more intelligent people than myself, ask the question, and then give you the answer, which is the reason why you're there, ladies and gentlemen. More immediately, I asked Gartner. Gartner is a famous institute, and the impact radar tells us that you have lots of technologies that you might not have heard about. I'm not sure I can explain very exactly and precisely what homomorphic encryption is or what are graph technologies, but I can try. Smart world, the lady before us talked about a smart city. Smart worlds are smart cities everywhere. Homomorphic encryption is a tongue twister for a new cryptographic technology that lets you encrypt, that lets the owner use encrypted files, as I understand it. Graph technologies is our next database technology after the blockchain, after NoSQL. Generative AI is the one thing I selected because, well, because it's media, actually. It's about journalism. So I don't know if I know anything about it, but I try, or at least I try to put the questions. And then the metaverse. The metaverse is not on the chart. Perhaps we can zoom a little bit on the chart, by the way. The metaverse is not on the chart because, according to Gartner, it is more than 8 years out. What you basically have is, in yellow, things that are happening now in the coming 2 years, and then up to 8 years in deeper and deeper shades of gray, not 50 of them, and then you get the metaverse more than 8 years hence, and generative AI, which I'm going to try to talk about, and I'm sure, Mila, that you are not 8 years away, so we might have a discussion about this specific point. Generative artificial intelligence is not exactly new. The magazine I used to work for, Forbes, already had an AI robot when I worked for them in 2016. The Washington Post has a wonderful one. 30% of Bloomberg articles are written today by a robot. Actually, they were in 2019. The percentage has probably gone up. And since then, since these first automatic journalists, we've got a new big thing that is coming. In 2020, natural language processing model called GPT-3 has gone live, written an op-ed for The Guardian, and since then, you have 300 apps that have been developed, and many other such transformers are coming of age. You might have heard about Blake Lemoine, I don't know how that's pronounced in American, the one that not exactly fell in love with Google's chatbot, but thought that it was a sentient being and tried to find a lawyer for the robot and was sacked eventually. Well, we're going there. We're going towards machines that can read, speak, write, as well as a human, so well that even one of their minders will think they have a conscience. And we are going to about 300 startups suggesting that they can write your website better than you do. And actually, they're not bad. So what do we have right now? We have text-to-text transfer transformers. And a specific chipset presented by NVIDIA at the beginning of the year, I believe it was in March, which would bring down costs and allow, let's say, AI, natural language models that will have an order of magnitude better than the present sentient beings. We're talking about 1 billion parameters, and now we are 1 trillion parameters instead of 100 billion parameters so far. Those are used not only for chatbots, but for translation, for summarizing, for copywriting, for editing, and might even get to write books. And then you've got GANs. Everybody knows about GANs, not other than that name, because everybody has met a deepfake. You've got the thinking Mona Lisa, you've got an animated DALL-E, but DALL-E is also the latest, well, it's again, technically, from OpenAI, the guys from GPT-3, from an Elon Musk company, just for a change. And DALL-E, well, you write a text, it will draw a picture, but not a painting. It will draw a photograph from a text. And another painter, Gauguin, but from NVIDIA, has been doing the same thing for a year or so. All this doesn't really work yet, not perfectly well, but the time is coming when you will write a text and have a picture, a photographs, many photographs, a video, indistinguishable from the real thing, where synthetic media and real media will converge in the metaverse. Maybe 8 years from now, maybe less, we'll see. This is the way I believe media is going. It's going towards a world where I can tell a robot, write me a piece with video and text about Volodymyr Zelensky's death on Maidan under Russian artillery, and I will have everything. The pictures, the video, the eyewitnesses, and nothing will be true. So where do we get from there? If this is the metaverse for newspapers or for media, what can be a mediaverse? You have some tentative, well, you know, they're just testing the temperature of the pool. ABC News has an immersive video website But the truth is that metaverses come from video games, social media, and Web3. The media themselves, the newspaper, they're not in the metaverse yet. I haven't seen, and it's very hard to bring news over Fortnite. You can, Travis Scott can have a concert in Roblox and have 30 million people listening to the concert, but how do you bring news on the metaverse? Well, you do have experiments, mainly with NFTs. AP has been selling its pictures, NFTs of its pictures. I have a friend in Silicon Valley that created a company doing NFTs for podcasts. And I have this personal belief that NFTs are going the way to differentiate the real video really taken in Maidan the day before yesterday from the fake video, otherwise indistinguishable. I cannot say that. That is what I believe, because you could have an NFT. But anyway, what I think is going to happen is that media, and not only media, everybody that has something to do with content is going to have to grapple with 4 technologies: natural language processing in yellow, generative adversarial networks in green, XR for extended reality, that's virtual reality, augmented reality, everything that is, some people say, is the metaverse today, and the blockchain. And in the middle of that, you will get startups, of which I hope there'll be one of yours, because all the young people in this room need to build not only the metaverse, but the mediaverse. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I had to say, and now I'm done talking. Mila, your turn. Mila Bessmann, why are you here? Who are you and why are you here?
Yeah, I'm a tech entrepreneur and investor, and I've been working in metaverse space since 2016. Well, I would say that the early incarnation of metaverse has been on the market for quite a long time. Like, we could consider Minecraft or Fortnite or Decentraland, like the first prototypes of metaverse. Indeed, the photorealistic real-time metaverse is maybe 8 or 10 years away. And the reason for that is mainly infrastructure that has to be built by telecommunications companies, and also, well, the developments in the quantum computing and some other technologies like graphics cards, like hardware, graphics cards, chips. These kind of things are required. The networks like 5G, 6G, well, we are currently implementing real-time solutions with Deloitte and some other major, like Forbes 500 companies. And we can see, yes, indeed, interoperability can only be reached for a limited number of people with high quality of graphics. However, there is a great potential for people to communicate in the metaverse, and infrastructural problems or issues can be solved in the short term. Well, currently, the most attractive applications of immersive technologies and metaverse are training and education, and this is where most of the effort has to be implemented. Real-time communication, well, and other like applications of metaverse could be like, yeah, well, developed later.
Okay, so you're the metaverse lady. David Moscato, are you the metaverse gentleman?
Well, we are looking into that from the financial point of view as investors. So, of course, we were looking mostly at the beginning to a vertical application of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And of course, by looking, for example, that metaverse real estate transactions achieved $500 million last year, attract our attentions. And speculation with NFT, although we are like 2 years studying this cluster as investments, we only work with one case on the NFT, which we find really a user case very interesting. rather than purely speculation. So there is really value creations on the innovations that was built up.
Damien Garot.
Yeah, I'm the space guy, and thanks for this accelerated class, Jean. I'm going to teach you a class about space dynamics. So here in the Earth, here is a traditional satellite, 6 tons, the size of a minibus, 36,000 kilometers away from Earth, inducing high latency. Instead, with Stellar, we can launch a constellation of smaller satellites close to the Earth, inducing low latency, high throughput, secure, reliable connectivity everywhere, starting with vehicles. So imagine a car, a ride, where there is no drop calls, when you have good quality of internet, so it could be your office. Imagine a car which is equipped, so you can discover the metaverse. Basically, this car is becoming the new room of the house, the high-tech room. Imagine a car that drives itself, so you enjoy your vacation from the beginning of the ride, not when you arrive at your destination. Imagine a car which is not your car. It's a shared car, because that's the way humanity can address its mobility issues, with a fleet of shared cars, with huge benefits in terms of sustainability. That's the type of vision we're supporting at Stellar.
And how far away in time is that?
Well,
I'll go back to my 8 years.
We already demonstrated on racetracks in Germany what we are capable of. The challenge is in the car itself to have something which is small enough to fit within the car, but also on the satellite, because as Mila said, it's not only about the connectivity, it's also about an infrastructure that is able to crunch the data. We're here for the data leadership of the mobility sector. We're not here just to send signal. We're also here to crunch the data so that the car can rely on the network and not to embark all the chips, all the power of compute within itself. So it's cheaper.
Would you buy this car in the metaverse thing? Does it look likely to you, Mila? And David?
Yeah, why not?
So you would actually rent a car to go into the metaverse?
Well, we should not, I think there is like fully immersive metaverse in VR, and then there is also metaverse in AR, like augmented reality. So we don't need to go into metaverse. Like metaverse could be like just an element of our like real world, just like augmented objects. And actually, while here the discussion was more about like the infrastructural like and network layer, but then there is also a layer like interactive interface layer when, for example, immersive technologies can help navigate for example, train the drivers or navigate in the cities. So do you agree with that, David?
Yes, I mean, it's two different reality. One of the metaverse, I think Emirates was making very nice during the expo simulations about using the virtual reality into a contest about tourism. So basically, you travel by sitting in your plane seat, basically, so to get already information before you arrive at destinations. So this is a combination between metaverse, so virtual reality, and reality, which is one use. Then to connect the car, that's another thing. I think it will take longer than that.
Okay. I'm getting confused. Could we try to have a roadmap to the metaverse? And what are the obstacles? I guess broadband is one. To
Major.
Deploy, but could you do a roadmap? Okay, the metaverse is already here, I understand, but the metaverse is Roblox and Fortnite. So it's maybe not immediately useful, except if you want to play Fortnite. What are the coming years, according to, well, you first, and each of you then?
Well, I can see a lot of companies already in the training and education market, both as clients and as solution providers. So this is already here. Then we also have social networks, or XR, real-time XR collaboration, like actually like copies or replicas of real world or extensions of real world. This is something at scale. This is something that can be available probably like in 5-8 years. Meanwhile, Metaverse will exist on all types of devices. It means we will not replace our mobile phones or laptops with XR glasses, but we will probably use them together. More 2D devices still, but already trying the 3D devices. There are some also limitations related to 3D devices because some people don't find them comfortable. Some people, don't feel sick in, for example, VR glasses. But hardware is also improving. Let's say when the infrastructure is in place and it can support photorealistic graphics, then almost all people will be keen to use immersive technologies and to be present in Metaverse. Currently, it is mainly for the generation X, Y, Z, so from 15 to 35. And this is the statistics provided by Sandbox and Fortnite and other social networks.
I'll go to Damien first, if I may, and then how big is the broadband problem? Should we wait for 6G and your constellation, or can we do with 5G and Starlink?
Yeah, I think we all experienced the broadband issue 15 minutes ago when Nikos tried to connect, and twice he was disconnected while he was in his office, right? We all face this on an everyday basis.
And on a landline with fiberglass.
Exactly. So there are reasons why Starlight could be of help, because indeed it's a coherent network, so we are from point to point and we can guarantee this quality of service, which in the case of Nico was not. Now, I think, and to come back to your questions about roadmap, I think that one of the answers that we need to provide is not where is tech leading us to, is where do we want to go? And when I see the newspapers and the announcements from the OECD about the looming food crisis, for instance, I think that the question we should ask is that what is the roadmap on tech to address the food crisis? The same way as sustainability. What is the roadmap of tech to address the sustainability issue? And so back to the food crisis. One way to address it is to have more efficient farms. And one way for efficient farms to be more efficient is to have autonomous tractors. Because with autonomous tractors, the farmer can do something more useful than being behind a wheel, waiting for the tractor to reach the end of the field. I don't know, have you ever driven a tractor?
With a Russian tank on tow?
That's the fun part. Usually it's quite boring. Yeah. And actually, this is where automation can really, truly change everything. But for this to happen, you need real-time connectivity, so you can teleoperate, if needs be, your tractor. And this is where actually tech should be, so that the broadband issue is addressed also so for the fields to be covered, and so the autonomous tractors to be then rolled out. So that's typically the kind of things that Starlight can address in the near term.
Okay, we'll go back to the tractor, but David, what is your take on the Metaverse roadmap? That I see that Damien has already taken us away from the Metaverse, but I still would like to spend a few moments there.
Well, it was born as a gaming experience, and it's still a gaming experience. Now, from gaming experience, it's moving into different directions, and we see in training, as Mila was saying before, training as professional training, but also education, and maybe also into a source of income for some countries, some developing countries. We see, for example, experience during the COVID of this play-to-earn gaming industry that was blossoming in Asia. So Metaverse can create new job creations for sure. Can create new customers for existing reality outside the metaverse. Like we were saying about media, but we saw also think about in the fashion business, like Gucci, for example, with the NFT and the crypto technology that is booming, linked to the metaverse that they are investing at the moment. All the fashions, big groups are investing to the metaverse. So this is also another channel about promoting their products and to attract new customers.
Okay,
but this is still, we are still, speaking about early stage.
Yeah, this is a specific mystery for me, why people would spend $2,000 to buy a pair of Nikes to an avatar with the definition of Roblox. I mean, with pixels that are the size of my nails. But perhaps we could go there. I mean, why? Why do people do that? Just because you call it the metaverse?
No, because they live there. These are not just people, that you meet on the street. These are people like gamers who are present in metaverse for years and who know the technologies, like crypto technologies as well, and maybe they earn some income in crypto. And it feels different for them. And when you're present in this world for a long time, you want to have the same things there because you also have a community there. So it's just the same thing, but those people just spend a lot of time there. And there will be more of such people in the real world soon because of obviously those automation and robotization of our work life. And we know that a lot of jobs will be replaced or cease to exist. And also new jobs will be created. I agree with David. And even now in Dubai, the government launched large scale, in my opinion, program to create 42,000 new jobs specific for metaverse and immersive technologies.
Okay, so maybe we'll go there right now. It's what I call the snow crash phantasm. Snow Crash is the original novel. The movie is Ready Player One. The idea is that Damien's tractor driver is taken off his or her tractor, closed up in a bot, playing games in the metaverse. Is this the future we're talking about? Because it's in everybody's mind.
Yeah, you're right.
So the tractor goes alone and the human does nothing useful?
No, something different and a different world.
David, Damien, do you agree with this?
It's provide freedom. So if you're a gamer, sure, go for it. But actually, coming from the countryside, I can tell you that someone which is not behind the wheel of a tractor then will do something much more useful for the farm. And that's the whole idea of
playing
automation.
Fortnite?
I mean, we're talking here about games, and indeed, there is a nice company called Holoride that is making sure that you can enjoy 3D games with VR in the back seat of a car, making sure that the game is coordinated with the car going left or right. So that's the type of thing that is possible. But again, this is game. And indeed, the game market is huge, but it is not by itself the definition of metaverse, and there are much more that we can do with that.
David, do you want to pick up on that? Just because it's your turn. Do you subscribe to the snow crash phantasm?
Well, I want to go back a little bit on the job creations because I was moderator in a conference 2 months ago, and the topic was on the Web 3.0. And one of the well-known experts and technicians and programmer on that side, he was saying, my value in the society is much bigger in the metaverse right now than to a normal, as a normal worker. So this makes you to understand about, some resources or some talent will express themselves much better inside this kind of reality than the reality that we are living in these days.
Okay, you almost got me convinced. I'm not sure about the audience, though. Let's go practical. Mila, I believe that you organized the onboarding in the metaverse for Deloitte.
New hire onboarding, yeah.
Okay, so how many people was involved? How did it work? Could you describe it a little bit?
We're still in the process of, well, this is like an ongoing project in the south of Europe, and interns and new hires, like Generation X, Y, Z again, you know, it is all about this category for now of people. And, well, it's a great experience for them. So, first of all, and also, it's interesting that it also minimizes costs for time costs for HR managers, because they can handle larger groups of people, and they don't need to actually guide them through actual buildings. Like, we created the digital twin of the office building of Deloitte, and then they could just show the premises to the new hires, give them safety instructions, give them an introduction of the company culture, history, etc. So, in my opinion, it's going well. And it's not only us. There is also Accenture. There is also the Bank of America. There is also who implemented immersive technologies at scale for new hire onboarding and training. Like the Bank of America even launched 4,300 XR training centers across the US. So it's already going in this direction. And now we have this news that JP Morgan entered the Decentraland, and then HSBC entered Sandbox, not for training on new hire onboarding, more like for marketing and attracting like the new generation of clients, but still it is going in this direction, and financial sector is also already getting involved very much.
But onboarding works better in the metaverse
onboarding
in real
training.
life, or is it just a part of the onboarding that happens in the metaverse? How does it work?
Onboarding is just a part of talent management, same as training. So we're just trying to combine both processes, but obviously the focus is on training, and training is more efficient in Metaverse, 70% cost savings, and also people are more attentive because they're fully immersed. Their attention is not going somewhere else, and it also allows for scale. Both. There are two aspects. Automated training without an expert lecturer or teacher, this is the way the Bank of America did it. And then there is also real-time training where an expert can be invited and actually have immersive sessions with thousands of users, thousands of trainees.
Okay, so to finish with the metaverse, if all you say is true, it brings to mind the fact that 10 years ago or so, the companies and the markets welcomed a generation who never separated from their phone and usually a Macintosh. They would come into the company, sit down, and ask for the Wi-Fi codes and get in trouble. Because what? You want to steal the secrets of the company? What are you bringing your device and asking for the network codes? And that was a generational clash that unleashed what was pompously called the digital transformation of just about every company, which in the event makes that companies are no longer paying for employees' computers. But it did transform companies and even markets, and helped with many things like I was going to say pandemics, but never mind, e-commerce. And now we are about to welcome a generation that has, in effect, grown up in video games and the proto-metaverse, the proto-verse, I don't know. Is this generation that you are onboarding, Mila, with Deloitte, going to be the real metaverse, whatever the technology? Are they going to expect a different organization that will be more immersive, more autonomous, with the idea, for instance, that in Web 2, the community is for free. You give everything for free to your community, and you expect your Facebook friends or whatever to give you free content back, and anything and everything is owned by the platform anyway. Web3 is different. Web3, everything is yours, and you get paid for everything. Are we welcoming a new generation with different ideas of how digital works? And are we calling this the metaverse because we used to do whatever Mark Zuckerberg says? Tough question, huh?
Yeah.
David, I feel like you'd like take it.
Well, it's very tough, but just about, no, not young generations, but I remember the old times where we just have a modem in the 90s, and we had the first IBM, or before it was the Amiga as computer, and we are trying to crack some programs from internet, and so that's how the things evolve during the time. So it's difficult to make a parallel. I'm speaking about the last 30 years. What will be the next? But for sure, the skills of the people in this kind of mindset is completely changed compared to ours. And for sure, the digital experience will move to change the reality. But I'm speaking about more broadly, think about geopolitical situations that we are facing these days. So I think the implications of the digital would have an impact on the society more stronger than what we could think about these days. So even the control, or political control, economical control, would be linked about this digitalization transformations.
Damien, about your kids or younger brothers?
So I think I was old enough to play the Amiga. I was fully immersed at that time. I didn't need a VR to feel.
Yeah, I was immersed in Pong.
Yes.
So
what has changed things? I think it's more the way we consider being connected. And I think that the pandemic that you quickly mentioned has been really the moment when we accelerate for 5 to 10 years in terms of way to consider ourselves. The digital life now is fully part of our lives. That's true. And connectivity has been the way, our last safety net, where we are all stuck at home, waiting for the following day during pandemic. So overall, I fully agree. The next generation that is coming has completely different new expectation, which is actually a fact of life. The way we were compared to our previous generation was also completely different. And so that's going to be a fascinating discussion among different generations to see what we want to do with this tech. Where do we want to go, not where the tech drives us.
Mila, you'll have le mot de la fin, the end word on the metaverse.
Well, one aspect not to be forgotten, that Metaverse is also like a basis for the creator economy to develop. And a lot of participants of the Metaverse will actually create content for fun, but also for sale. Unique content, personified content for fun, but also for sale. So, and there will be a lot of like peer-to-peer exchange in Metaverse. Like even now, we have discussed it today already, that the market of virtual objects, like in-game market, like Fortnite, Decentraland, this kind of platforms, well, is about 54 billion. So 54 billion compared to the whole art market. Global art market is something like 60 billion, if I remember it correctly. So it's almost the same. And this is just like virtual clothing for avatars in
well, not
Minecraft.
that Jeff Koons isn't a fraud too. Okay. Sorry, Mila, did I cut you off? I think it was, yeah. So, you're right. Okay. So if I may have some light in the room, I have a question for the audience, if I may, but I need to be able to see hands raised. So if you would just light up the room, please. Et si je peux avoir de la lumière, s'il vous plaît, à la régie, dans la lumière dans la salle.
Et réagissement.
Et malheureusement, mon luxembourgeois n'est pas bon du tout.
Un
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. The question I have for you is, whom do you side with? Do you side with Gardner? Is the metaverse 8 years in the horizon? Or do you side with Mila and this gentleman and say that the metaverse is now? Could the people that think that metaverse is in the future, in the faraway future, please raise their hands? Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Could the people that think, that side with Mila and think that the metaverse is now, please raise their hands? Okay. So, gentlemen, this didn't happen. We're in the metaverse, really. And now that you got in the habit of raising your hands, I've got 1 minute and 55 seconds if any of you has a last question. Otherwise, I can have, but please, raise a hand and put a question. In any language, I'll translate it back in the mic. Monsieur, puis monsieur. No, no. Oh, heavens. Do you have a smaller question? Okay, so is the metaverse the new iteration of the internet like the web was? Or is it a smaller thing like Web 2? Right? Okay. Any lady? No. Oh, no question from ladies. Okay, sorry. So who owns an NFT here? Does any of you have a Bored Ape? No.
No.
Well, we issue them, we create them. So yeah, we have like an entertainment product with NFTs. But I personally don't own any, well, kind of NFT art.
On my side, not yet, but we are working on a project in terms of capital raising for a very interesting NFT, which it really brings value. It's not about speculations that we see 69 million selling NFT, this kind of scammer, I call it. We are working on a real project linked to blockchain where the NFT is used for tracking and solving some problems in the wine field. So luxury wine, where basically the NFT is linked to a bottle of wine. And
that is an interesting NFT. Yeah. But can I drink the NFT?
Excuse me?
Can I drink the NFT?
Yeah, well, in the NFT, no.
Okay,
but
that was easy. Never mind.
No, but you can,
question.
this link, you can, in theory, to have the two things. The beauty is this: you have the bottle of wine, and then you have the NFT. Until you don't drink the wine, you have both together, and then you can delink each other.
Yeah, but that's actually a whole debate. We will have another time about the reproducibility of the work of art and Walter Benjamin. Damien, do you own any NFTs?
So I don't own NFT on bottle of wines, but do you?
A bottle of wines, yes, I do.
Oh,
and NFTs, yes, I do, but not a Bored Ape. I was too late in the game, too expensive. Question 1, then question 2, 3. Killer app in the metaverse. What's the killer app? Satellites?
Yeah, to me, it's going to be the team building exercises, where we're going to be all at the same place on the metaverse, and we're going to create team building all together thanks to that.
Mila, you building the killer app?
Very simple. Zoom in 3D. Just being able to communicate in real time, photorealistic graphics. That's simple. Instead of 2D, Zoom 3D.
And since you did well with my huge question, I have the audience has a huge question for you too, David. Is the metaverse the new web?
Well, it's not the new web. It's part of the new web, I would say. The evolution is was 3.0, and then from 3.0 we are going to use the metaverse. It's part of that, but it's not. We'll say to build up the content, you can build up the same as you have in Web 4.20, but. There might be some implications that need to be addressed to be as a new web.
Well, if I got this gentleman's question right, you got the Internet Protocol in the 1970s, Windsurf, that let everybody write email and brought back the habit of writing that the telephone had sort of crowded out. Then you had the World Wide Web, which was a different graphic access to information. Then you have a marketing hype about Web 2 and platforms. And the question is, where do you scale the metaverse? Is it an innovation of the size of email and World Wide Web, or is it like a sub-web? Hard to tell, huh? Does anybody take that question? Mila, please. How courageous.
It's a part of, well, there is a notion called like semantic web. Actually, it embraces more than just 3D graphics because, well, Metaverse is just like a collection or, of 3D worlds. Let's call them like this, that either replicate the reality or extend it. And semantic web also embraces the IoT aspect, like when all the objects of the real world are connected, and this is something that is closer to my colleagues here. And then when we are able to actually manipulate these objects either from the virtual world and actually organize the work of, for example, let's say the whole like city or objects in the city, or like at a smaller scale, home, with not like by manual means, but automatically. For example, by using our voice or some other commands. But answering your question, so semantic web, where all the objects are interconnected and there is like a big element of like 3D and virtual content either overlaid on a real world or present in virtual world. And then also this kind of systems have to be self-sustained. So basically powered with renewable energy, like green energy. And this is like a part of autonomous economy.
Oh, okay, I failed you. I promised I'd be short, and we're over time. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May I suggest a round of applause for these courageous people that answered to unprepared questions.